Well, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, and thank you, Ebony. The reason we ask you, first of all, thank you for coming on such short notice, because we know most of you probably heard about this today. So we appreciate the fact that you're willing to step out of whatever your plans were for the afternoon and join us here for just a few minutes. But the reason we asked you to come is because we did want to make a special announcement, and we're pleased, we hope you will be pleased as well to know that we made AYP. We're going to just describe a little bit, because I know many of you are familiar already with AYP and how it's calculated, and there are people in this room that actually do the calculating for some of these things for us, but I do want to give a little description of that. And as you know, we did make AYP 2 years ago. We did not make it last year. And so it's complicated to calculate, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we are pleased, at least it is our second time in 3 years, so 2 out of 3 years. Our status for this year is called by the Pennsylvania Department of Education making progress. And that just means that we met AYP for the first of a 2-year probationary period. And if we make it that second year, then we would be called made AYP. So we are in the making progress category, and as you know, as I said, we just missed it in 2010. So AYP is really the calculation of district progress under No Child Left Behind. Districts all over the country have to do this, not just us here in Pennsylvania. And each state, though, sets separate targets around AYP. This is the 9th year, because as you know, we're coming toward the end of No Child Left Behind's 10-year term. And the goal was to have all our students meet proficiency by the end of 2014. And of course, as you know, in most cases, those goals have not been met in most districts. Progress in the standards must be tested every year in grades 3 through 8, and one time in high school, grade 11. There are 4 things you have to do in order to make it. One is attendance. You have to either have 90% attendance or show growth from your previous year. So for example, if you didn't make the 90%, if you showed growth, that qualifies you. Graduation rate is another measure, and it must be higher than 82.5%. This is an important one to note because the graduation rate calculation is changing after this year. Pennsylvania's been using what's called the leaver rate, and we're going to be going to a cohort graduation rate, and that means for most districts, the cohort rate calculates a lot lower than a leaver rate calculates. So for next year, that cohort rate will be used to determine AYP status. We don't know what the target's going to be yet, so I'm sure we'll find that out soon. Participation. 95% or more of the students have to participate. And then there's several ways you can make it on performance. So performance is the last standard, but it's one that's not just totally straightforward. Either you can make it straight out, as we call it, 72% of the students scoring proficient in reading and 67 proficient or advanced in math. Then there are other ways that you can make it as well. Confidence intervals, and I'm not going to read those to you. Safe harbor, confidence interval, and the growth model. So there's several other ways that calculation could be used that may say that you made AYP. And the other thing that it's important to remember is the targets for AYP keep going up each year, because the goal was that by the end of 2014 you'd be at 100% proficiency. And so what most states did was kind of take it up over the course of the 10 years. And so since we're getting close to the end of that 10 years, these goals are going up pretty steeply at this point, and you can see what that looks like on the graph. For the district, in order to make AYP, at least one grade band, and a grade band is like either grades 3 through 5, grades 6 through 8, or at the high school just one grade, it's grade 11. And so one grade band must meet all the targets in math and all the targets in reading. So, and then of course the graduation, the attendance targets have to be met as well. And participation and performance, For us, 2 grade spans met all the math targets, grades 3 through 5 and grades 6 through 8. 1 grade span met all the reading targets, grades 6 through 8. Our graduation rate on the lever method, remember, this is not the new method, is 89%. And our attendance rate was 94. So that's how we qualified. We have 8 subgroups in grades 3 through 5 and 6 through 8, and you can see which ones those are on the slide, and it describes which grades in which we have that subgroup. You see we have them all with the exception of English language learners and Latino Hispanic at the 11th grade. And in order to have a subgroup, it's 40 or more students. So right now, in those 2 we don't have it. We have less than 40, but that may change over time. Math, grades 3 through 5, we met all 36 mathematics targets across both the 3 through 5 and the 6 through 8 spans, and you can see what that looks like. And those little acronyms are going to tell you how we made it. So, for example, if it says SH, that's Safe Harbor. If it's GM, that's Growth Model. So that's how that table can be read. And then if you look at reading 3 through 5 and 6 through 8, we met 16 of 18. And you can see that the 2 that we did not meet were performance for our African American students at grades 3 through 5 and our economically disadvantaged students also at grade 3 through 5. Mathematics, 9 through 12. The district met 11 of the 14 and 13 of 14 in reading. And you can clearly see which ones we met, which ones we did not. The summary is on that next slide. So 94% of the targets across all grade spans compared to 88 in 2010. Okay, the summary of the AYP targets, and I think let me see where I am. Yeah, okay. 94% of the targets in reading and 85 in 2010. This AYP status level, we're going to show it to you because we know, and for those of you that get the packet, there is a full page of this in the back so you can actually read it. But this just tells you the different status a district might have. And so that's just a graphic that describes it. For a school to make AYP, all the students category and all subgroups must meet reading and math targets. Grade levels are aggregated, so for example, if it's and for our K-8s, this makes it more difficult in some ways because they have more grades. So they have every grade tested 3 through 8. So all those grades get thrown into one group. There's not a clear relationship between the district and schools making AYP. In 2010, as you may remember, the district did not meet AYP, but more schools did. However, in 2011, the district made AYP, yet fewer schools did. Our goal, of course, is to have more schools and the district make AYP at the same time. So it seems that twice now we've gotten 1 out of 2, but not both. In 2011, 56% of the schools made AYP, as the reading target rose 9 points and the math target rose 11 points. And so you can see on this graph the percent of schools that made it, the number of schools that made it. So 41 of 60 made it in 2010, 32 of 57 in 2011. And of course the reason for 57 is some schools closed in between or did not test that grade. In 2011, 7 of our schools missed by 1 target. And so therefore did not make AYP, which of course is very disappointing for us and for them as well. This next slide gives you the summary of what that looks like in terms of all schools, K-5, K-8, middle, high school, and our 612 schools, and what their AYP status is. 2011 for our K-5 schools. These are the schools that met. These are the schools that were in warning out of the K-5 schools. 16 schools met, 5 are in warning. And then if you look at our K-8 schools, you can see the schools that met. I'm not going to read those to you. And schools that are in various status of school improvement. And this kind of is that graphic that we referred you to that's at the end of the packet. For our middle schools, this is what it looks like in terms of the schools at MAT. Schools are in School Improvement 2, School Improvement 1, and in warning status. And then our high schools, 12 high schools and 612 schools. This is what their status looks like by school. I want to thank our students who and told me clearly they are working hard. They told me clearly this morning they are working hard. Our teachers, who I saw working hard today, and as I saw classrooms before, you know, in that magic moment before the kids actually come in, teachers have spent a lot of time setting the stage for what students were going to walk into this morning, and they had done a beautiful job, and they were so excited. Our families, you know, I got to talk to some parents this morning, bringing their kids in, sometimes first-time kindergartners, and I talked to some of our parents of our English language learners, and I got an opportunity through a translator to talk with them, and it was great. So our families are such great support, and then we have community partners here in the city that are just phenomenal support for our district. And often, you know, people use this phrase, it takes a village, you know, and I don't use that myself because actually I think it gets used too much. But honestly, it feels like a village. I'll say it feels like a village because we have people working together for the betterment of our kids, and I think that that is just an incredible thing. We are certainly pleased anytime we show any progress anywhere on our PSSA results. Absolutely pleased. But we always remind ourselves that's not the real goal here. The real goal is for kids to be promise ready. The real goal is to get them through college. The real goal is to get that workforce certification or that college degree. And so it's one of our indicators, but it's not the whole story. And so we plan as we kick off this 2011-2012 school year to make sure that we work as diligently as we can to make progress on this PSSA indicator, but never forgetting that there's a bigger goal in mind here. There is a bigger goal for our children. So that's the story for today, and so I thank you all so much for coming.